A couple of weeks ago, Olena Schvitz gave a speech on how much bicycling has been a part of her life. I'd like to add to that. I was late starting to bicycle. Other kids were whipping around on the cul-de-sac, but I wouldn't get on one because you see, with only two wheels, there's no balance. You need a third wheel, otherwise it'll fall over. I remained skeptical until I saw my little sister, a year and a half younger, zip blithely by on a bicycle. I said, "It may not work, but I have to try it." So I borrowed one, got on top, lifted my feet gently, and lo and behold, it worked. I rolled down a little bit. I put my feet on the pedals. By gosh, it worked. What a thrill. I'm sure my parents were thrilled too, because I was old enough. I should have been bicycling already. Next opportunity, they bought me a Schwinn 3-speed bicycle. It was an adult size, so I couldn't have been too young at the time. And I rode that bicycle until I graduated from high school. Then I got a scholarship to an expensive private college full of rich kids up in Oregon, Reed College. I didn't have a bicycle, but I found one abandoned on campus. Some rich kid obviously decided it was junk, and it pretty much was. It had one speed and 3/4 of a handlebar. The other one had rusted off. Well, I rode that bicycle for 2.5 years all over Portland, quite confident nobody would steal it because it was junk. And then I dropped out of college. For 10 years, I didn't have a bicycle. I worked as a surveyor, which meant that I had to go all over the country. I needed a motorcycle or car to get where I was going to work. And then I went to Saigon with IBM. And in Saigon, there were a lot of bicycles ridden by Vietnamese, but braver than me, because along with the bicycles, there were motor scooters, motorcycles, pedicabs, three-wheeled motorcycles, and cars and taxis of every description, up to 2.5 and 5-ton army trucks, all jostling each other like this. None of the Americans I knew ever tried the bicycle in that mess. But next I went to Germany. And in Germany, it was a different story. I was in Zweibrücken, out in the country where there were lonely country roads. I immediately bought a Peugeot 21 speed, they'd invented derailleurs by that point, bicycle, and rode all over. I rode all through that corner of Germany, incidentally, noting that there was a Seibert Eisenhandel or a Seibert Blumengeschäft everywhere I went. It turns out that that's where the Seibert family came from, I found out two decades later on the internet. I'd also go over the border into France. There were guard posts at the borders in those days, but there were farmers' roads that didn't go past the guard posts, and I'd simply take off with no passport formalities or anything and ride into France, ride around for a day, and come back. I really loved it. I'd bicycled quite a bit, but I was also running in the morning. I'd gotten up to 10 kilometers, 6 kilometers a day at that point. I returned to Washington, D.C., and I continued the running. Actually, there were great tracks in Washington, D.C., but I continued bicycling. In fact, I started being a bicycle commuter. I would fold my suit carefully, put a fresh shirt and tie on top of it, bicycle to work, and go in the men's room and do kind of a Superman act, scrub up, get the sweat off myself, put my suit on, and go to work. And I was fairly productive because we get all that fresh air, and yes, you're ready to go when you get to work. I was delighted that when I went to work for myself, it still worked because the clients didn't care how I got to work, and they didn't care if I changed clothes after I got there. What they wanted was what I could do, and they were satisfied. I was satisfied. I kept that up for the next 20 years until I retired. I raised 3 kids. I tried to get them interested in bicycling. I took them off to Canada for bicycle vacations 3 summers in a row. I'll have to say that the bicycling never took with them, but I had fun. And then I got divorced. Came on over here to Ukraine. Well, I had been making long bicycle trips in Washington, D.C., actually up to 160 kilometers a day fairly frequently through Washington, Virginia, Maryland, and West Virginia. And I once got up to 200. Oh, I was so exhausted when I got home from that, but I was also exhilarated. But I found that here in Kiev, I couldn't do that. I got as far as Vishka Road with the cars going whip, whip, whip past me, and I said, I'm not going to do this. Oksana and I have a couple of bicycles that we use to go to Obolon and across Truhanov Island, but I never did a lot of long-distance cycling here. However, I do make up for it by going on the Vélo tous les jours bicycle, exercise bicycle every day. So that's my history of cycling. Let me re-emphasize the points that Olena made about safety. First, you should wear bright clothes and have lights all over you, because you will find as a cyclist, which you already knew, that motorists are oblivious, distracted, and inconsiderate. So you want to give them no excuses whatsoever if they hit you, which they have a couple times anyhow. Number one, make them see it. Number two, go where the cars are not. On a busy road, bicycle clear over to the side and give them room to pass. But better yet, find a road that doesn't have cars on it, so you have the road more to yourself, even if it means driving a little further. And third, and this is where I'll disagree with Olena a little bit, follows on point number two, be where the cars aren't. Ignore red lights and stuff like that. Just pay attention to the cars, to the things that are going to hit you. If you come to a red light, and there's a bunch of these roaring beasts ready to go when the light changes, and there's nobody coming, you zip on through. So when they take off like a herd of buffalo and the light changes, you're half a block ahead of them, clear over on the right, blithely cycling by yourself, ignoring them. Another point she made, I will really emphasize, the helmet. For 40 years, the helmet was no more than decoration on my head. But then one day here in Rusanovsky Sad, a pack of dogs came after me, woof, 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 and I tried to outrun them, and I must have hit a hole. God knows what happened, but I woke up in the hospital with a severely dented helmet, but my head intact. Helmets are worth it. Let me close with some common sense observations about cycling. Enjoy yourself when you're out there. You got the lungs full of fresh air. You're the one who's staying in good physical shape. Don't let the cars or anything bother you. So if somebody honks at you, when you can certainly hear them coming, or swears at you or some other thing, just let it sail by. Don't give them the finger. If dogs come after you, I have learned, stop your bike, talk to the dogs, wait till they're tired of you, and then peacefully ride on. If it starts to get slippery, icy, get off the bicycle. Don't be a hero. And that's like they say in the Air Force. The Air Force says there are two kinds of pilots, bold pilots and old pilots, but there are no old, bold pilots. Don't be a bold bicyclist if you want to be an old bicyclist like I am. Just enjoy yourself, maintain your peace of mind, and keep on pedaling. Madam Toastmaster.